The envelope was too thick for a standard bill. Meria stood in her kitchen, the soft hum of the fridge the only sound, as she tilted the cream-colored package under the light. Her thumb brushed over the raised seal of her insurance company, embossed, almost official, feeling like a certificate of doom. She hadn't been to the doctor in over a year. Not once. She was meticulous with her health. Veganish, walked 5 miles a day, didn't drink, didn't smoke, didn't even date. Every part of her life was built on stability, calculation, self-reliance. She even tracked her macros and her retirement goals with the same spreadsheet. So when she slid the papers out and read the words claim summary, emergency surgery, $200,000, something inside her snapped. She blinked. Once, twice. The numbers didn't change. The name at the top, Meria Sutton. Her policy number. Her address. But the procedure? Emergency abdominal surgery at St. Mary's Hospital. Date 3 weeks ago. Meria hadn't even had a stomachache. Her hands shook as she reached for her phone. She flipped the envelope over, scanned for the number and punched it in. Her other hand clutched the counter for support. Chirpy hold music played. Flutes. Birds. Something disgustingly cheerful for someone holding a bill larger than most people's annual income. Finally, thank you for holding. This is Dana. May I verify your name and policy number? Meria gave it. Pause. Typing. Okay, I see the claim here. This was for A. Reed Sutton. Added to your policy on March 3rd. Removed April 14th. Meria's voice dropped into a whisper. Reed? That's my brother. Another pause. Well, yes ma'am, that's the name listed. He was added as your dependent. He's 33 years old. I understand, but according to our records, he was added as your spouse. Meria made a sound between a laugh and a choke. A spouse? He's my brother. I didn't add him to anything. Would you like to file a fraud report? Her throat tightened. She didn't answer. She hung up. Her keys were on the hook. The car was in the driveway. She didn't call. She didn't text. She just drove, every mile fueling a slow-burning rage that started deep in her chest and crawled all the way to her fingertips. Her parents' house in Oak Lawn hadn't changed. Still the same white siding, chipped paint on the shutters, the crooked mailbox that her dad swore he'd fixed since 2012. She didn't bother knocking. Inside, the smell of stew hit her like a slap. Hey honey, her mom called from the kitchen like it was Sunday dinner, not DEFCON 1. You hungry? I made your favorite. Meria walked straight in, dropped the envelope on the table with a heavy thud. Her dad looked up from his coupon book. What the hell did you do? His eyes flicked from her to the papers. His jaw twitched. Meria, calm down. Don't tell me to calm down, she snapped. You added Reed to my insurance. You made him my spouse. Her mother set the spoon down like she was placing a bomb. He was dying, she said quietly. We didn't have time to ask you. You committed fraud. They wouldn't take him without insurance, her mom barked. You have good coverage. We did what we had to do. Meria stared at them. You stole my identity. You're being dramatic, her mom hissed. Always so dramatic. I'm being billed $200,000 for a surgery I didn't have. Her father stood, voice tense. We thought we could pay it off. He's getting better. He'll get a job. We'll fix this. Meria's laugh was hollow. He hasn't held a job for more than 6 months in a decade. Her mom's eyes flashed. We raised you. We gave you everything. And now you think you're too good for this family? Meria's voice cracked, raw. No. I just think I'm not your scapegoat anymore. The room fell silent. Her mom smoothed her apron like that could fix the crack in the air. You always had it easier than him. He struggled. You didn't. Meria stepped back. Because I made sure I didn't. I worked. I saved. I got out. You left us, her mother whispered, almost trembling. You abandoned your family. No, Meria's voice was calm now. You threw me to the wolves and called it parenting. The door slammed behind her, but the echo lingered in her chest. Meria didn't remember getting into her car, didn't remember starting the engine, only that her hands were gripping the steering wheel so tightly her knuckles had turned white. Her parents' voices still rang in her ears. He needed saving. You had better insurance. We did what we had to do. The excuses looped like a broken record. She pulled over halfway to her apartment, heart racing, head pounding. Her breath hitched and then the tears came. Not loud. Not messy. Just quiet drops sliding down cheeks that had stayed dry for far too many years. She leaned her head against the steering wheel and closed her eyes. That's when the memories came, vivid, cruel, and sharp. She was 12. The shed behind the neighbor's house was on fire. Flames danced in the windows and smoke curled into the evening sky like a signal for everything that would come after. Reed stood behind the fence, fingers still clutching a lighter, wide-eyed but not sorry. Their mother arrived first. She didn't ask what happened. She just grabbed Meria by the arm and hissed, "Tell them it was you." Meria choked. "I didn't. He can't have this on his record. Your girl. They'll go easy on you." That night, Meria sat in the police station with her knees shaking and her palms slick. She lied because her mother told her to. She was grounded for a month. Reed got ice cream on the way home. Later in high school, someone stole from the teacher's purse. Reed. But Meria was the one called into the principal's office. "He said you dared him," the counselor said. "You're influencing your brother in the wrong way." Meria was suspended. Reed got a new phone for his stress. College. Meria paid for it. Scholarships. Part-time jobs. Meanwhile, her parents threw a party when Reed got into a 2-month trade program, despite dropping out before it ended. They called him brilliant, just misunderstood. Every time Meria achieved something, an internship, a fellowship, graduating early, there was always a reason it didn't matter. Well, you didn't have to work as hard as he did. You were born lucky. Some kids are just more sensitive than others. Reed's spirit is fragile. You don't understand how hard it is for boys these days. And yet, despite everything, Meria kept giving. She paid off their electric bills when their heat got cut. She sent Reed money after he lost his job for the 3rd time in 2 years. He helped them fix the roof. And now, they'd rewarded her by adding Reed to her insurance policy and pretending he was her husband. Committing fraud in her name. The betrayal wasn't new. It was just finally undeniable. Meria sat in the car until the sun dipped below the horizon, letting the memories wash over her like poison in reverse. It wasn't just this one act. It was decades of being the backup plan. The punching bag. The steady one. No. She was their ATM, their safety net, their sacrificial lamb. Back in the present, she unlocked her phone and scrolled through old text messages. A month ago, her mom had sent a photo of Reed in a hospital gown, smiling faintly for in his arm. The caption read, "Pray for your brother." Nothing else. No context. No request. Just the assumption that she'd care, and more importantly that she'd help. She had replied with a heart emoji. A heart. How fitting. Meria took a shaky breath and looked at her own reflection in the rearview mirror. Her eyes were red, but her face was steady. This wasn't just about $200,000. It was about 40,000 tiny cuts that had never healed. It was about never being the child worth protecting. It was about being useful but never loved. She wiped her face. There was a storm coming, and this time she wasn't going to be the one drenched. Meria sat in her apartment, the folder still on the table like a ticking bomb. The apartment was quiet, too quiet, save for the low hum of the refrigerator and the distant sound of a neighbor's dog barking. Her cat, Ledger, circled her feet like nothing had happened, like her life hadn't just split open at the seams. The hospital bill sat where she had dropped it. Her name on the top, her policy number, her address. But the surgery? Not hers. The surgery belonged to someone else. Someone who had never paid a single cent into the life Meria had built brick by brick. Someone who had stolen it with a few clicks and her parents' signature. 3 days passed. She didn't sleep much. She made coffee but forgot to drink it. She tried to work but her screen kept blurring. Rage sat in her chest like a stone. A slow, deliberate heat. Not loud. Not messy. Just enduring. On the 4th day she drove back to Oak Lawn. The neighborhood hadn't changed. The cracked sidewalk outside her parents' house was still cracked. The shutters still crooked. The yard still unkempt. It was like walking into a time capsule that refused to be buried. She didn't knock. Just walked in like she still belonged there. Her mother was in the kitchen, again stirring something in a pot, humming. Her father sat in his recliner with the TV on low volume, flipping through his endless stack of coupons. For a moment it looked like a normal evening. For a moment she almost forgot why she came. But then she saw the manila envelope still sitting on the sideboard, unopened. She didn't bother with greetings. "You knew I would find out," she said. Her father looked up, startled but not surprised. Her mother turned, hands still holding the spoon, not even blinking. "We thought you'd calm down by now," her dad said. "We didn't want to make it worse." Meria laughed. A single bitter note. "Worse? You forged documents. You added Reed to my insurance as my husband. You used my name, my policy, and then didn't even bother to tell me." Her mom crossed her arms. "He was dying. What would you have done? Waited while we filled out a dozen forms? You don't get to make that choice with my name." "We're family," her mother said flatly, as if that explained everything. "We did what we had to do. You didn't ask. You never ask. You just take." Her dad stood up, moving toward her slowly like approaching a wounded animal. "Meria, listen. It wasn't about hurting you. We hoped we could pay it off. We just needed a chance. We didn't expect it to go this far. It's $200,000. We'll figure it out. He hasn't held a job longer than 6 months in a decade. He's getting better. He's getting worse and you know it. He's 33 and you're still treating him like he's 5. Her mother's face darkened. "You think you're so much better than him because you moved away and got your fancy job? You think you're above this family now? No. I think I stopped letting you use me as a lifeline." Her father's voice hardened. "We raised you. We gave you everything. And now you can't even help your brother. You gave me trauma, not opportunities." Her mother stepped forward now, apron stained, eyes blazing. "You always had it easy. Reed struggled his whole life. You got straight A's. He had scholarships. He had nothing. He needed more. That's how it works." Meria's tone dropped, colder than before. "That's how it works. Punish the child who tried and reward the one who didn't. It's not punishment. It's balance. No, it's favoritism. You covered for him when he burned down the neighbor's shed. You blamed me. You grounded me for a month while Reed got taken out for ice cream. You've been sacrificing me on the altar of his failures since I was 10. He's your brother. No, he's your project. Your excuse. Your forever child who never has to grow up because you're too afraid to admit you failed him." The room fell silent. The television hummed quietly in the background. Her father looked away first. Her mother's lip trembled, not from guilt but from fury. "You left us," she said, barely audible. "I survived you," Meria answered. Her mom's voice cracked, sharp as glass. "You abandoned your family. You turned your back on us." "No," Meria said simply. "I turned my back on being used." Her father opened his mouth but she cut him off. "You crossed a line you can't uncross. This isn't about Reed. It's not even about money. It's about you thinking I owe you my life because you gave birth to me. But here's the thing, you don't get to steal from me and call it love." She turned, reached for the doorknob. "You always had it easier," her mom called after her. "You never had to fight like he did." Meria looked over her shoulder, her voice calm but final. "No. I just learned how to fight for myself." Then she was gone. 3 days after the confrontation, Meria got a call from HR. It was curt, professional, almost sterile. "There's been a red flag on your health benefits. Until the issue is resolved, we're placing you on unpaid leave." The words hit harder than she expected. Her job was her sanctuary, the one space where she was respected, valued, untouched by family dysfunction. Now even that was unraveling. She stared at the email follow-up with the subject line, "Temporary suspension of employment status," and felt something twist in her chest, not from fear but from disbelief. She had done everything right. Paid every bill on time. Never missed a deadline. And still she was the one being punished. She spent the next 2 hours on the phone with her insurance provider, lawyers, and the company's compliance office. The message was clear. Until the fraud investigation was resolved, all benefits were frozen. No prescriptions. No access to care. No paycheck. Meria hung up and stared blankly at her laptop. The irony was cruel. Her parents had said she had it easy, but it only looked that way because she had built her life on discipline, on grinding every day to stay ahead of the chaos she was born into. And now, with one forged form and a fake signature, they had taken a sledgehammer to everything she'd worked for. She opened her banking app. Savings, $12,300. Emergency fund. The one she hoped never to touch. Rent was due in 11 days. That night she didn't sleep. Every time she closed her eyes she saw Reed in a hospital gown, her name under the patient chart, the envelope with her policy number and a debt she didn't choose. Around 2 a.m. her phone buzzed. A message from her brother. It was a voice note, 39 seconds long. Against her better judgment she hit play. "Hey, it's me. Mom told me you were pissed. Look, I didn't know she was gonna do it like that, okay? I mean, I was in pain, they said I needed surgery fast. I didn't have insurance. I didn't ask for this. I didn't tell them to add me. But now that it's done, can't you just help out this once? I'll pay you back when I get back on my feet. Please. Just this one time." Meria stared at the waveform on her screen. The way he said, "just this one time," like there hadn't been a dozen other one-times before. Car repair. Rent shortfall. Forgot to file taxes. Lost my wallet. Got laid off. He always needed saving. And her parents had trained him, and her, that she was the designated savior. The next morning she opened her email to find one from her mom. The subject line was just her name in all caps. Inside, "We're family. Reed didn't ask to be sick. You're being selfish, Meria. After all we've done for you. Your father had to co-sign your first apartment. We fed you, clothed you. Don't act like you made it on your own. A good daughter would understand." She didn't reply. By afternoon her father called. No voicemail. Then another. Then a message, "At least talk to your mother. She's upset. This is tearing the family apart." Meria put her phone on silent and buried herself in the couch, but even the silence wasn't safe anymore. Her thoughts looped, her breath tight. For the first time in years she felt like the girl who used to cry into her pillow while Reed blasted music down the hall and her parents told her she was too emotional. He hated that feeling. The helplessness. The guilt. The questioning. That night she opened a bottle of wine she'd been saving for something better. She drank half a glass and dumped the rest. Then she opened her laptop and searched insurance fraud sibling family case. The results poured in. She clicked through article after article. Victims. Whistleblowers. Cases gone to court. And then she found a local law firm that specialized in medical identity theft. She filled out the contact form. When it asked for a message she typed, "My parents added my brother to my health insurance by forging documents. He had a $200,000 surgery under my name. My employment is suspended. I want to file charges." She hit send. For the first time in days she slept through the night. 3 days after contacting the law firm, Meria sat across from a woman in a charcoal gray blazer who introduced herself as Alicia Tran, Senior Counsel for Medical Fraud and Identity Theft. The office was smaller than she expected, tucked into a professional plaza between a podiatrist and a tax prep service. The walls were bare except for a few framed verdicts and a photo of Alicia shaking hands with someone in a state senate pin. No nonsense. Efficient. Meria liked her instantly. "We requested the full surgical file from St. Mary's," Alicia said, sliding a folder across the desk. "You're listed as primary policyholder, but the patient details, age and blood type don't match yours. That's going to help us." Meria opened the folder slowly. At the top of the file was the familiar insurance form, her name, her policy ID, but then came the patient section. Reed Sutton. Male. 33. Same last name. Same home address as her parents. Emergency contact. Diane Sutton. Her mother. Relationship to patient. Sister-in-law. Meria blinked, her stomach twisting. They didn't even try to hide it. Alicia tapped the paper. "What's worse? Your parents signed as witnesses. We believe they used your policy credentials to bypass verification. It's not just fraud. It's premeditated. Coordinated." She paused. "The hospital might have turned a blind eye too. We're requesting internal communications." Meria leaned back, her heart racing. "What happens if we move forward? You'll be protected. We'll notify your employer. Get your benefits reinstated. And we'll file a formal complaint with the state. If your parents and brother are found liable, they'll face fines, or even criminal charges." It was the first time someone had said those words out loud. Criminal charges. Against her family. Her hands felt clammy, but her voice didn't waver. "Do it. That evening she couldn't stop staring at her ceiling fan. Round and round it spun, blades slicing air like silent clocks. Her childhood flashed in and out of memory, moments she thought she'd buried. Reed pushing a neighbor kid off his bike and blaming her. Their mom shushing her tears after another one of Reed's accidents. The time he crashed their dad's old truck into a streetlight and she was the one who got grounded for egging him on. She thought the past was behind her, but now it was chasing her down through hospitals and courtrooms. A week later, Alicia emailed, "There's something else. You need to see this in person." Meria returned to the firm, heart pounding. Alicia didn't waste time. She pulled up a scanned copy of a police report. Reed wasn't assaulted outside a grocery store like your parents claimed. He was injured during a home invasion attempt. He was the intruder. Meria's breath caught. What? He broke into a house with 2 other suspects. They thought no one was home. But the owner returned. There was a struggle. Reed was stabbed in the abdomen. That's the injury he had surgery for. Alicia turned the screen toward her. There's more. The police suspected it was part of a larger string of burglaries. Reed was a person of interest in 3 other cases. He was out on bail for a misdemeanor theft when this happened. That's likely why your parents covered it up. If he was identified during surgery, he could have gone straight to jail. Meria couldn't feel her legs. So, they committed insurance fraud to save him from being arrested? Yes. And they used your name to do it. She left the office in silence. The sun was bright and cruel as it bounced off car hoods in the parking lot. Her hands shook as she opened her door and sat behind the wheel. It was worse than she imagined. This wasn't desperation. It was deception with intent. Her parents hadn't acted out of love. They'd acted out of calculation. The same way they always had. When she was 15 and told them Reed had taken money from her purse, her mother told her not to create drama. When he got arrested for shoplifting at 19, they told the neighbors he was helping a friend. It was always someone else's fault, until it wasn't. Till now. That night Meria made a list. Not a to-do list. A list of things she had done for her family in the past 10 years. Rent covered, $3,200. Electric bills, $1,700. Reed's bail, $4,000. Car repairs, $1,100. Credit card payoff, $2,500. Groceries, birthdays, holiday cash, emergency transfers, over $20,000. She had receipts. She had timelines. And she had no more room for guilt. The next morning she filed a notarized affidavit confirming she would testify against all 3. Reed, Diane, and her father, Mark. The law firm prepared the package to send to the district attorney. That afternoon her employer called. Her HR rep sounded nervous but polite. "We received notice from your attorney. We've reinstated your employment. Retroactive pay will be processed this week." For the first time in weeks, Meria smiled. But it wasn't joy. It was relief. Cold, exhausted, hard-earned relief. The call came at 6:12 a.m. on a Thursday. Meria was brushing her teeth, half-dressed for a Zoom call she didn't even want to take. Her phone buzzed once, then again. Then it rang. It was her dad. She let it go to voicemail. Then a text from him, just 2 words, "Call now." Followed by another from Reed, "Mom collapsed. Hospital." A numbness spread through her chest, familiar and unwanted. She called the hospital instead of calling them. The receptionist transferred her to ICU. The nurse confirmed. Diane Sutton, 61, ischemic stroke, moderate blockage, stabilized, sedated. Meria barely heard the rest. Something about blood thinners, observation, possible paralysis. She sat on the edge of the bed, phone slipping from her hand. This was not what she expected, not now. Not like this. Her mom had always been the loud one, the sharp one, the force behind every insult dressed as advice. The woman who told her she was too ambitious when Meria got her second promotion. Who once said, "You'll never be a real woman until you sacrifice for your family." Meria used to argue. Then she stopped. Now that woman was lying in a hospital bed with tubes in her arms and a machine clicking beside her like a slow, broken clock. 2 hours later her father called again. This time she answered. His voice was hoarse, exhausted. "She keeps asking for you," he said. "She's awake now. Not speaking well. Just one word at a time. But she keeps saying your name." Meria stared at the wall. What does she want? You. His voice cracked. We're in trouble, Meria. The lawyers, the hospital, they're saying we could go to court. We didn't think it'd go this far. She could almost hear the desperation in his breath. Just come see her. That's all I'm asking. She didn't say yes. She didn't say no. She just hung up. That night, she sat with her laptop open, the legal documents still on screen. Her sworn affidavit. Her signed testimony. The letter from the DA's office acknowledging receipt. She stared at her own name on government letterhead and felt like a traitor to something she couldn't name. Not family. Not loyalty. Just a story. A role she was supposed to play. The good daughter. The selfless one. The provider. Ledger meowed from the armrest. She reached over and scratched him between the ears. What if I'm wrong, she whispered. What if this ruins everything? The next morning she didn't go to work. Didn't return calls. Didn't open her inbox. Instead she drove, again, to Oak Lawn, this time not to fight, but to look through the glass of a hospital room at the woman who gave birth to her and taught her that love had a price tag. Her mother looked smaller than she remembered. Pale, fragile. Mouth slightly open. Her hair, once tightly permed, now hung limp at her ears. Her father sat beside the bed, gripping her hand like it could bring her back. When he saw Meria, he stood up fast. She'll want to see you, he said, voice low. Just 5 minutes. Meria stepped in. The beep of machines, the antiseptic sting, the 2 white sheets. It all blurred together. Her mom blinked, then looked straight at her. Meria didn't know what she expected. Maybe an apology. Maybe a breakdown. Maybe some version of, I'm sorry. Instead, her mother lifted one shaking hand, pointed weakly at the 4-line and whispered, help. One word. Help. But Meria didn't move. Her heart beat faster. Her lips parted but nothing came out. Because for the first time she saw her mother not as a villain or a martyr, but as a woman terrified of losing control. The matriarch undone. The puppeteer without strings. Her father hovered behind her. We'll lose everything if this goes to court, he said. You know that. You can fix this. You always fix everything. Meria turned to him slowly. That's the problem. You always made me. He stepped back. She looked at her mom one more time. There was no redemption in her eyes. Just need. An expectation. And fear. Meria exhaled. You chose Reed. Every time. You chose him over truth. Over fairness. Over me. Her mom's lip trembled. Family, she croaked. Meria shook her head. Family doesn't steal from each other. Family doesn't lie and then ask the victim to clean it up. She turned and walked out. Her father called her name, but she didn't stop. Not this time. She didn't owe them her ruin. That night she submitted the final paperwork with her attorney. She would testify. In court. Under oath. For herself. And maybe, for every daughter who was told to shut up and be useful. Meria didn't go back to the hospital. She didn't answer her father's calls or the texts that came in bursts. First pleading, then accusing, then silent. She had packed a bag that night not out of impulse but certainty. A carry-on suitcase, a laptop and a red envelope. Inside it was the one item she never thought she'd return, her mother's necklace. It had been gifted to her on her 21st birthday, presented like a family heirloom, a symbol of womanhood and sacrifice. One day you'll understand what it means, her mother had said, fastening it around her neck. To put family first. Meria had worn it to her college graduation, to her first job interview, to her first apartment lease signing. Not out of sentiment but superstition. Maybe if she played the role long enough, it would become real. But now it just felt heavy. She walked through the familiar house with the creaky hallway, the faded pictures on the wall, and the chipped ceramic angel figurines that had survived 4 generations. No one was home. The hospital had claimed them. Her footsteps echoed like memories she was finally allowed to leave behind. She entered her old bedroom, now converted into storage. Cardboard boxes, a treadmill with laundry draped over it, broken lamps. The only thing untouched was the window seat. She used to read there for hours, her knees curled up, hiding from the noise downstairs. She sat there now for the last time and pulled out a pen and a folded sheet of paper. Her handwriting was clean. But deliberate. I won't carry what was never mine. I gave you loyalty, silence, sacrifice. In return you gave me expectation, debt, and guilt. This necklace meant something once. Now it's just a reminder of all the times you told me love was transactional. I'm done playing that game. I wish you healing. But I owe you nothing. She signed it, folded it, and slid it into the envelope with the necklace. Then she placed it on the center of the kitchen table, the same table where she dropped the insurance folder just weeks ago. It felt poetic, like closing a loop. She left the house without looking back. A week later, the official court summons was issued. Her parents and Reed were named in the fraud complaint. Meria was listed as the key witness. Local press picked up the story, family insurance fraud uncovered. But she didn't read the articles. She didn't need to. She was already gone. Gone from Oak Lawn. Gone from the weight of being the good one. Gone from a life of reactive love. She rented a short-term apartment in a coastal town 2 states away. Small, quiet, ocean view if you craned your neck from the fire escape. She spent her mornings walking barefoot along the sand, her phone on silent, her mind finally quiet. Some nights she still woke up with guilt pressing against her ribs. Old instincts die slow. But they die. Ledger adjusted quickly. Sunspots on the windowsill. New smells. No tension. Just peace. One afternoon she checked her mail and found a letter. No return address. Inside was a card. We hope one day you'll forgive us. We didn't know how else to love you. It wasn't signed, but she didn't need to guess. She folded it neatly and placed it in a drawer. Not out of sentiment but closure. She didn't need apologies anymore. She had her own truth now. And that was enough. 6 weeks after testifying, Meria sat in a sun-drenched cafe overlooking the edge of the Atlantic. The court case was still pending, but the media frenzy had died down. Her parents had hired their own attorney. Reed had pled not guilty. There were whispers about a deal, reduced charges if he agreed to pay restitution. But Meria no longer checked the court updates. Her part was done. For the first time in 30 years she was not the fixer, not the buffer, not the responsible one carrying everyone else's broken pieces. She was just Meria. And that was more than enough. She opened her laptop not to work but to write. Not for anyone else, for herself. The words came slowly at first. Then smoother. Her story wasn't just about fraud or betrayal or even family. It was about escape. Reinvention. Letting go of the roles that never fit. She wrote for the girl who sat at the kids' table until she was 25. For the woman who got guilt-tripped for buying herself a new coat while her brother needed a loan. For every daughter who was expected to apologize for wanting something of her own. That afternoon she walked to the post office with a small envelope in hand. No return address. Just a name scribbled in block letters. Eli Jameson. 3 weeks ago she'd seen a GoFundMe post about a 9-year-old boy in foster care, needing surgery his state insurance didn't fully cover. No parents. No siblings. Just a caseworker and a shrinking deadline. She didn't know him. Would never meet him. But something about the photo, his oversized glasses, the quiet in his eyes, moved her. She hadn't donated right away. She needed to be sure this wasn't pity or guilt. It wasn't. She included a check for $20,000. Anonymous. No note. Helping someone who didn't expect it felt different than helping people who demanded it. That night she sat by the open window, a breeze lifting the edge of the curtains. Ledger purred at her feet. She thought about everything she'd lost. And everything she'd reclaimed. Her time. Her voice. Her self-worth. Her phone buzzed once. Unknown number. She silenced it without looking. Some stories didn't need sequels. Some endings were exactly what they should be. She poured herself a glass of wine and turned on music. Not to drown anything out, just to feel. She closed her eyes, let the lyrics fill the room. And for the first time in a very long time, Meria smiled without bracing for what would come next. This was her story now. Hers alone.